happy to have Howard Herring joining us from the New World Symphony. We're going to be talking about some incredible things that they're doing there. And of course, my partner, Tony Lassane, joining us. Say, hey, Tony's coming from out of town, but we're here connected on Zoom. So let's jump right into this conversation because there's some really dynamic things that are happening at New World Symphony. What is part of the mission for New World Symphony? I think there are many people who maybe not be familiar with that. We want to start with that.
For sure, great place to start. So we are an orchestral academy. We are like a doctor's residency. All of our players come to us for a 3-year fellowship. They all have at least an undergraduate degree. Many of them have a master's degree, and they will leave us to go into professional life. Most of them will win jobs in major orchestras around the United States, but sometimes in Europe, South America, and Asia. During their 3 years with us, they begin to hone their craft and find their own voice, something that in the music world is incredibly important. Each artist must be themselves. So we give them a chance to do that. We give them a chance to prepare for the audition process that gets them into these orchestras. And they play over the course of 35 weeks of a season, they play about 70 concerts. We learn by doing. We believe in a strong and secure future for this music, and that we will reimagine, reaffirm, express, and share its traditions with as many people as possible. We believe this music has a lot to say, and that when it's brought forward, those who hear and experience it, their lives will be richer. And so we want to move out into the entire community. Sometimes that means instead of playing what is traditional in the orchestral world, Beethoven and Brahms, a broader list of pieces of music. And in fact, in the United States, over the course of its history as music education has developed, there are a lot of composers that were left behind, and many of them are Black. And over the course of the history of the New World Symphony, we have made our attempts to right that ship, to make that a different story, and we've done pretty well. But I will say that the murder of George Floyd was a turning point for us. We understood that we had to be even more intense and more aggressive with this work, and we have done so. If you'll permit me, just let me back up a little bit and say that we were founded in 1988. This is our 34th year. But in the 1990s, we already were aware of the importance of diversity and, in fact, the advantages of cultural diversity. We partnered with the Sphinx organization. This is a Detroit-based organization that sponsors a soloist competition once a year, 2 divisions, youth division, upper division, college division. Every high school winner who has ever won that competition has come to us to play as a soloist with the orchestra. They also commission music, and they select a particular piece of music each year as the winner of their competition. We play that piece of music. So we're very much involved with Sphinx. And in 2011, when we opened the New World Center, where we play our concerts now, the Sphinx Virtuosi, which is a chamber ensemble, chamber orchestra of all these winners from their past competitions, they come together and play concerts. They always start in Miami, here at the New World Symphony. They play the tour, that's sort of end of September. They play a month-long tour, and they land in Carnegie Hall in early November. So Sphinx and New World are very much in sync with one another, and we're really doing our best to help each other out. Now let's go back to the moment when we made our decision to become more intense about all this. And it springs from the idea that in 2015, the head of Sphinx, Aaron Dworkin, made a public statement about the percentage of Black and brown players in American orchestras. And at that point, it was about 3.5 or 4%. We began to recruit. We cast the net broadly. We invited more people to audition. And guess what? We went from 2 and 3 players of color in an 87-person fellowship to this year when we began with 15. And that was a gentle climb over the last 7 years. So that's one of the first big moves that we made. The second was a convening where we began to understand what happens to a young player from their very first lesson to the time that they are comfortable as artists in the world. we found that this was the analogy was that it was a bridge, and there are 5 spans of the bridge based on age. And we analyzed what works on each one of those spans and what would be a problem that would knock you off the bridge. So we began to recruit, and we began to understand the bridge plan and apply it with our work here in Miami, across the community. And then, as we got into this year, started to expand our repertoire even more aggressively. So 30% of the composers who will be represented on this year's season are from underrepresented groups. And the crowning glory of all this is the Harlem Renaissance Festival that we will put forward in February 1 through 5.
What can we do to amplify that voice? There may be some things we're not sure about.
So one of the first challenges is that people across South Florida are not necessarily looking for us to play this music. First of all, we just need to let them know that that's happening. You know, when I've talked to people, older Black citizens of this county, they remember Jim Crow and they remember Miami Beach. So I think we need to be welcoming to people. Our home is at 17th and Washington on Miami Beach. That's where we started in the little old Lincoln Theater on Lincoln Road, and now in the building that is ours. Frank Gehry designed us a rather remarkable facility here. So people need to know that coming to the beach we are welcoming them to the beach, even to the point that the primary facade of this building is actually a screen. And on Saturday night, the 5th of February, the orchestra concert inside will also be offered outside.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Absolutely. We call it wallcast.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's free, and it is offered. We have a sophisticated camera capture system and a sophisticated projection system, sound system with 167 speakers that are very carefully aimed at the audience. And you can imagine the envelope of sound. It feels like you're inside a structure. All of that comes with the wallcast. 7:30 the start time. Bring your dinner, bring your bottle of wine, have a good time, bring your friends. And that's another way to experience this music, but it's, again, a welcoming way. On the first night, on Tuesday, February the 1st, the big performance starts at 7:30, but at 6:30, the Old Miami Poetry Festival will bring a whole group of young students, grade school, middle school, and they will be reading their poetry, and they will be representatives of this community. Old Miami Poetry Festival, their primary work is done in April, and they say that they would like every citizen of South Florida to encounter a poem in the month of April. It's a big dream, and they actually do pretty well at addressing that idea. But they also work in the schools, and so they will be bringing a good number of the student poets who are part of their programs, part of their outreach programs. So it even begins at the very start, 6:30 on that very first night, February the 1st. We ourselves have a concentrated community engagement program that works with 3 public schools. Northwestern Senior High School is the school that we will hopefully bring their students all week long. And this is about a 15-year relationship with Northwestern Senior High School. An incredible band program, an incredible band director. And we want those players, they come to us each year. We want them to be part of this in the audience. And we also try to make sure that they can meet our fellows. Our fellows go to them over the course of the year and augment the teaching in the band program there. But we also, when they come to us, it's a natural thing for everybody to have the conversations that make those relationships richer. So those are the 2 quite specific items. The Miami Music Project also benefits from our fellows who go out to augment the teaching there. There are 5 different locations for the Miami Music Project across this city. And so that's another place where we will be bringing those kids and their parents here to the festival. We also have a donor who has agreed to rent buses for us. So as many people as we can fill in those buses, that's what we're going to do. So it's made it even easier for us to reach beyond the normal audience. The natural flow of this began with Michael Tilson Thomas, our artistic director, and we began to think about where we could concentrate our effort. And we began talking with experts in the field. Found our way to Tammy Kernodle, Dr. Tammy Kernodle. She's a professor at the University of Miami of Ohio, and the Harlem Renaissance. She's a musicologist and a professor of music there, and her specialty is Harlem Renaissance. We heard a lecture of hers, and then we had a conversation, Michael, myself, and a couple of other staff members, a Zoom conversation. And she arrived at a landing point of an idea, and she talked about sonic blackness. And all of us lit up because the way she brought us to this idea, and the bedrock importance of those two words led us to think, wow, she has a lot to say. So conversation continued. Before we knew it, we had begun to talk about how her expertise with Harlem Renaissance could be turned into this outward expression of concerts. So she's the curator of this festival. She's the guiding light. She's going to be bringing us through this over the course of the week. She'll set the tone on day one. When Kevin Young goes out to read poetry, it'll be after she's set the context for all of that. The same is true on the next night when we have all these pianists who are playing music by Black composers written for the keyboard. She's going to be guiding us, expanding on setting the context and getting everybody ready to listen with new ears. So she is the linchpin of this idea.
Art and what art does for a community is so vitally important. I think all the major cities in the world have tremendous art scenes, and Miami, I know, is continually trying to build its own, and certainly New World Symphony is a master and a major contributor to that, and just the fact that it's becoming and is more so engaging now, more so with the community, and as you said, the outreach, and I just see that becoming so much more flavorful, if you will, if you talk about sounds, all these different tonalities that are going to just blend and just make people feel like you're in a special place, because I think that we really are.
Yeah, we are in a special place. I see Miami as a city of the future. I think people will be using us as a model. Now, we have a ways to go, but the cultural institutions of this city, and I hope New World is a leader in that regard, understand what culture can do. You know, the Knight Foundation did a Gallup study, it's probably 10 years ago now, and they found that, yes, commuting time makes a difference, education makes a difference, pay scales make a difference, cost of real estate, all that stuff. But at the bottom of it all, it is culture that pulls the community together. And they ask the questions that made it clear that was the case. So yeah, you can use your calculator, or you can begin to understand what happens when we make friends with one another across. Exactly, it ripples. All that energy just keeps cascading.
There are three things that come to mind about the culture and what music does that we hope will connect. One, it saves lives. And that's a bold statement, but it really does.
Yeah.
And sometimes people find their passion instead of finding trouble.
Yeah, that's right.
This guy. Okay. And then secondly, sometimes people hear something that motivates them and stimulates them. And then the second thing is it builds communities. I don't have to tell you how important it is to build communities. And thirdly, it stimulates economies. We're real big about making sure that people understand the economic connection. And on that, Howard, if you could take over from there, those three elements, clearly I can see it, but you want to comment on how those things are true, saving lives, build communities, and stimulates economies?
Absolutely. So let's talk economy first. One of the comments that I make to the community's leaders, to the finance leaders and the government leaders in this town, is that if you ask people what Miami is, if you go out there and try to understand how the rest of the world sees Miami, they see it as party town, they see it as the beach, they see it as a place to come to have a good time and spend 2 or 3 days, maybe a week, whatever, go back home and that's it. And what I keep saying is that culture will provide the third dimension. People will begin to come here because of the culture. Now, I know that's happening because I stand in the atrium of the New World Center night after night after night, and I greet this audience. And as I talk to people, as I do, I just introduce myself to anybody who comes along. They are from other parts of the world. To add to that, a couple of the hotel owners up and down the Miami Beach have understood what it means to have a Frank Gehry building and the kind of music that we make at the level that we make it. And so the Ritz-Carlton is pretty wonderful about this. When you arrive at the Ritz-Carlton right there at the end of Lincoln Road, you're given an offer. If you want to go to a wall cast, they'll make a picnic for you. So wow. They are beginning to understand that culture builds this third dimension and makes us a better place.
That's fantastic.
But I want to go back to the first comment you said about saving lives. Over time, our fellows not only work in the schools, but occasionally in a particular school teacher, band director, orchestra director will say, I have a child who's really talented, and our guys will take them on as private students. And then they'll begin, this usually happens in sort of the 7th to the 8th grade, and they'll teach them year to year to year. And by the time they're sophomores, you can begin to see, yes, they had talent, but oh yes, they have some focus as well. And their parents begin to understand what this might be. But you have to have all those combinations. It takes a village to build a musician.
I like that.
It's true. It's true.
It really does.
We have a young man who is now at the University of Michigan, who lived part of his junior year in a car, unable to live in a house, he and his family. Kid was extraordinarily talented, but we were able to give him and his family the support they needed, and it had to do with private lessons, how you apply to college, what those colleges are that are out there where there's great music schools, how you take the audition, meet the deadlines for application, all that nitty-gritty stuff. He's at the University of Michigan Music School. So yes, it happens, and talent is randomly distributed.
Right.
It's our job to go find it. Woody, a lot of it is just talking with one another.
Yeah.
Just the chance to have what we're doing here today, and that it be broadcast, and that others can hear these conversations going on. It's that simple, but we have to get beyond ourselves. We have to go out and engage. And so what you guys are doing is pretty wonderful. It's fantastic.
Thank you so much. Well, I think, as you said, having the conversations and listening to what's being said and then acting on it, of course, is where it all kind of comes together. So this has been really insightful for me. I congratulate you all for the work that's being done, and looking forward to the programs and continuing to support. And of course, as Tony and I have committed to being able to share the message, because I think it's important that we're all getting engaged. Got to invite them and then have them show up, and it all comes together.
It's really cool. You guys are like a Shaolin temple of musicians and tell the monks to go out to these different places.
Analogy. I like that. I like that analogy.
It's right, Tony. That's what's going on.
I like it. Thank you all for tuning in and joining us for this episode. Take care now.